Hi everyone, my name is Robert. I work in marketing at the Livepeer core team. I'm here with Hunter from the product team. How are you doing, Hunter?
I'm doing pretty well today.
Well, the Explorer was recently updated, the Livepeer Explorer, and the Livepeer Explorer is really what provides a gateway to the Livepeer network health. Through the Livepeer Explorer, people can delegate their tokens. People can, I guess, view metrics such as minutes transcoded. People can also connect their wallets and vote on proposals. So this call is really just to go over recent changes that were made and also get a feel for how delegators and Livepeer ecosystem participants can use the new Explorer for whatever activities they want to do on the network.
So this section is designed to give a high-level picture of what's happening on the network. Some of this information was surfaced on the previous Explorer and is just reflected in a nicer format here. So we have fees paid in the top left. This is the fees that broadcasters are paying to orchestrators. You can view it on a weekly or daily basis. And this is, while fees are paid in ETH, this is reflected in USD at the time that the fee was paid. So it is comparing apples to apples, even as prices fluctuate a little bit. Participation rate, this reflects, in essence, the amount of stake relative to the total supply of Livepeer token. And that has an influence on the inflation rate, which is the next metric here. So any round that the participation rate rises above 50%, the inflation rate ticks down a little bit. For any round where the participation rate is below 50%, the inflation rate ticks up a little bit. And that's actually a protocol set parameter that's subject to the governance process. So while that's 50% is the threshold right now, that can certainly change with governance action in the future. We also see some information about the current round, the progress through basically a Livepeer protocol day. It's designed to be around 20 to 24 hours. I think right now it's sitting at around 21-ish hours per day. Moving down, we have estimated usage in terms of minutes. This is an approximation, right? Because you can think that a given video can have different characteristics in terms of the bit rate, in terms of the size. And so this is an estimate of how that sort of usage, which is what the orchestrators are actually paid fees for, it can translate into minutes. Delegators, pretty straightforward. It's the number of delegators over time. You may see some small fluctuations here, and it looks like over the last few months, we've seen a pretty consistent and steady increase here. Orchestrators, so this chart actually looks pretty interesting. You notice the dip at the very beginning. That's right around when we transitioned from Ethereum mainnet to Arbitrum 1. And so that's the cause of that dip here. If you were to zoom back a little bit farther, you'd actually see it up at 100 and then dipping down to around like 20 on the first day after migration, and then rapidly increasing after. I think it's important to note that there's a protocol limit right now on the number of orchestrators. So that's going to be capped at 100. So right now, this chart may flatten out a bit. In the longer term, there's definitely an interest in increasing in that limit, which is why we've kept it here, even though there is a sort of a protocol target.
Cool, very cool. I'd also like to point out for anyone that has questions, if you need to know more, you can click the icons. The icons kind of give you an overview of what the chart means. Okay, so moving on to the next session, the orchestrator. So I actually like this a lot because from my understanding, it basically gives the delegators a tool to forecast the yield based on parameters like time horizon, but I'll leave it to you to provide more context.
Yeah, totally. So on the previous iteration of the Explorer, this is an area, this orchestrator listing, where we got a lot of feedback from delegators that it was a little bit challenging to make effective decisions. And so if you think about the way that the protocol is actually structured and the economics incentive is at play, delegators is, in theory, other than just like, wanting to earn some yield on their LPT, they're actually playing a role of selecting for the orchestrators that are doing a good job on the network, that are providing in-transcoding services is in a meaningful way. And that's typically reflected through the fees that they're earning. And the stream distribution, which is to say how traffic on the network gets split amongst the set of orchestrators, is dictated in large part by stake. So delegators have a role to play here, in that, like, if there's more stake on a given orchestrator, well, that orchestrator is more likely to receive streams. And so with that in mind, it's really important that the incentives for the delegators to select orchestrators that are contributing meaningfully to the network, that those are displayed in a concise and readable way on the Explorer. Before we listed a lot of the inputs to that decision for a delegator, things like fee cut and reward cut and trailing fees and total stake. But the reality is that your average delegator, or who's looking at that information, you need to have a really, really nuanced view of what is going on within the protocol, how stream distribution works, things like that, to make an effective decision. And so our goal here has been to consolidate a lot of the inputs to, well, what makes a good orchestrator, and reflect them in a way that's usable for your delegators. And so if you click on one of the forecasted yield, like one of the 32.1% number right down next to that first one, you can see what's getting factored into this calculation. Some of the assumptions that are made. So if you want to drill down, the information's there. But if you're really looking to find an orchestrator who is both contributing meaningfully to the network and is going to give you a nice yield on your LPT, then I think you'll see that contained in this sort of concise number.
Very cool. Very cool. Very cool. Finally, we have the transaction. So transaction is pretty straightforward. It shows all the recent transactions on the network. One question I have is, what sort of transactions are not reflected on here? And what sort of transactions will be reflected on this side of the page?
Yeah. So essentially, any action that interacts with the blockchain in any way. So you're seeing newly minted tokens that are awarded according to protocol inflation. You're seeing delegation actions. You're seeing broadcasters funding deposits and reserves. You're seeing winning tickets that are redeemed. And so the idea here is to really give a picture of what's happening on the network on a day-to-day basis. Now, it's not capturing the actual segments of video that are getting transcoded, because that's not always something that the protocol has visibility into. But it is really capturing what orchestrators and delegators and in some cases broadcasters are doing on the network. And the hope is that this provides a picture of the activity, and really makes the protocol feel more alive.
Very cool. Pretty cool. Really impressed with the updates. As a delegator, this also provides me with the tools I need to, I guess, figure out where exactly I need to delegate my tokens, and also gives me a clearer picture of the network's health. So very helpful. One final question I have is, what's next from this? What are the roadmap features? Because I know this was part of the Q2 roadmap. Q2 has ended now. What's next for the Delegator and Orchestrator channel?
Yeah, so there's nothing that we're ready to put a timeline on, but as you pointed out, this is an update that's been focused largely on delegators, and a lot of these changes are really confined into the homepage, and then there are some minor updates to the experience of switching in your delegated tokens from one orchestrator to another. But really, it's delegator updates, and it's relatively confined. So with that said, we have many other stakeholders on the network, orchestrators, broadcasters, and everyone plays a role in governance. And I think that those are areas where you can expect to see focus in the future. I think that it's clear that there are a lot of areas here where we can do a better job of showing what's happening on that network, letting people interact with it, letting people explore it in a way that is meaningful for them and helps them achieve what they want to achieve with the Livepeer network. And I think that's really our goal here.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Hunter. This was great.
Of course, Robert. Thanks so much.